Singapore's property market may seem chaotic with all that noise and sensational headlines, but it's actually a highly engineered system. It operates on a very deliberate cycle.
Right, so even when you see those crazy price surges, there's underlying structure, isn't there?
Yeah, exactly. Think about it. Every property buyer worries, am I buying at the wrong time? But once you look past the headlines, you see that the market isn't random at all. It's carefully controlled by government policies and developer strategies.
Right, it's almost like the market is designed to behave in predictable ways, even if it feels unpredictable on the surface.
Absolutely. One of the key elements here is a so-called 5-year property cycle. It's very much like nature's seasons, where each phase plays a role.
Yeah, like
Developers
spring
have
and
a
summer,
calendar
right?
almost as predictable as the weather.
That's interesting. Can you break down the phases for us?
Sure, let's start with spring. This is the land acquisition phase. Developers aggressively bid for land, often through the government land sales program. And that is the master valve controlling the supply, releasing land in a measured way. It sets the stage
get it.
overhead before any show flats appear.
So the GLS is basically like a supply control mechanism, right? Influencing how much gets built?
Exactly. When demand is high, the government can release more parcels. And when things look overheated, they ease up. It's a crucial tool to keep the market like a steady escalator rather than a roller coaster.
That makes a lot of sense. It's interesting how these structural tools work to avoid extreme swings and the associated risks like household financial uncertainty or asset bubbles.
Yep, totally. The policymakers want, a stable market that functions as an economic pillar rather than a leveraged casino. They carefully balance growth with stability, tracking income growth and inflation.
But hold on a minute. What about those intense sums of money involved in land acquisition? Like billions of dollars flowing around quietly. Doesn't that give an impression of chaos?
It might seem that way, but it's by design. The hidden fact is that while billions change hands in that initial phase, it's not a public spectacle. That process is calculated to shape future property costs and investment returns.
Right, so it's more of a behind-the-scenes calibration, isn't it? Got it. And after spring comes summer, the new launch frenzy, right?
Yes, summer is when the real excitement kicks in. Developers launch the new units, marketing campaigns blow up, agents mobilize, and buyers flock to view show flats. This phase is what really captures the public's imagination, with dramatic jumps in benchmarks sometimes observed, like the well-known $400 per square foot phenomenon.
That jump. So for a 1,000 square foot apartment, we're talking about an increase of $400,000 in price, right?
Exactly. And this jump isn't random. It reflects the underlying cost of land acquired during spring, plus the new launch dynamics. The prices essentially mirror the developer's need to pass on those initial costs, along with a touch of buyer psychology.
Yeah, buyer psychology is a big factor. It's fascinating how, when you're aware of these cycles, you can see the apparent madness behind the curtain. But what about the en-bloc market? It seems like it used to be a big deal and then just slowed down.
Good point. A decade ago, en-bloc transactions were a major flashpoint, with entire developments being sold off. But now, they've largely cooled off. The math just doesn't work anymore, because developers face higher costs and additional duties like the ABSD. Owners want much higher payouts, and developers, frankly, can't justify the risk in those scenarios.
Makes sense. I see. So cooling measures like ABSD and SSD also reshape market behavior by discouraging short-term speculation, correct?
Absolutely. These measures have basically turned property holding into a longer-term game. Sellers stick with their homes longer, re-entering the market becomes expensive, and the resale market ends up being less liquid as a direct result.
That's almost like locking the market into a slower, steadier pace, forcing buyers to shift focus towards new launches rather than chasing quick resale flips.
Right. New launch condos come with progressive payment schemes, fixed prices, and modern amenities that attract buyers. They offer a streamlined process compared to negotiating with
Yeah, a
individual
sort
sellers.
of hassle-free purchase. So really, every element, from GLS to cooling measures to the cyclical phases, works together to create stability. But some might say, isn't that a bit too, controlled? Like, where's the room for organic market growth?
That's a fair challenge. However, while the system is regulated, it's not static. It evolves with the macroeconomic environment and policy goals. It's engineered stability that tracks income growth and inflation, which in turn creates a reliable, long-term investment environment rather than erratic speculation.
I get it. So it's almost like Singapore property has matured into a strategic asset, more like a regulated yield instrument rather than a punchy, high-risk gamble.
Exactly. Recognizing the property market cycle empowers both investors and homeowners to make decisions based on structure instead of emotional reactions to headlines. It's about understanding the subtle patterns beneath the noise.
Let's break down the remaining parts of that cycle. After summer's new launch frenzy, what comes next?
After summer, we enter autumn, where the market begins to stabilize. Most prime units have been sold, and developers focus on clearing remaining inventory. Prices tend to stabilize, sometimes with slight incentives or promotions to complete sales, but without the dramatic jumps seen earlier.
That's when the heat of the market cools off a bit, right? And then winter follows, which is like a quiet holding phase.
Exactly right. In winter, projects are near completion. Owners get their keys and the market becomes quiet. A pause before everything starts cycling again. Developers use this time to prepare for their next round of acquisitions. It's a bit like hibernation before spring bursts forth.
It's almost poetic, isn't it? The market really does mirror natural cycles.
Absolutely. And this understanding is crucial because if you know which season a district is in, you can better plan your move. For instance, buying during a winter phase might mean lower levels of hype and more stable prices, whereas during summer, you might be caught up in a bidding war.
That perspective can really shift how someone approaches property decisions. Instead of feeling like you need a crystal ball to time your purchase, it's more about reading the seasonal cues of the market.
Precisely. And when you strip away all the noise and marketing hyperbole, you realize that it's not just about the price. It's about understanding factors like land acquisition costs, regulatory timelines, and supply channels.
Yeah, a holistic view, right? Now, one thing I do wonder about is whether this engineered system might also limit rapid growth. I mean, is there a downside to having this tightly controlled cycle?
That's a valid concern. Some argue that, by prioritizing stability over rapid growth, the market might miss out on explosive returns. But the trade-off is economic stability and, ultimately, lower risk for households and banks. It's like a deliberate choice between a wild roller coaster and a steady escalator.
I see your point. In a mature market, consistency often trumps volatility.
Exactly so. And ultimately, understanding the cycle can provide a competitive edge. It lets you see the market not as a series of random spikes, but as a system governed by clear, predictable mechanics.
Right, clarity really is the biggest advantage. It's impressive how many layers there are beneath the surface of what many simply see as erratic property prices. There's a lot of engineering and planning behind each move.
Definitely. And when you really grasp these mechanics, it transforms the way you approach property investment, be it as an investor or as a homeowner. The cycles, the regulatory measures, and supply controls all work together to create a market that's less about chance and more about strategy.
Yep, strategy over luck for sure. Thanks for the deep dive. It really puts into perspective why understanding the mechanics behind the headlines is so crucial.
No problem at all. Knowing the cycle helps you see through the chaos, allowing you to make more informed decisions rather than reacting to every headline. And that clarity is what ultimately can shape smart property choices.
Well, that's been a really enlightening discussion. It's like, once you peel back the layers, the market stops feeling like a gamble and becomes almost predictable.
Exactly. Predictability in a seemingly uncertain market. And remember, the biggest advantage isn't in timing a single purchase perfectly, but in understanding how all these elements interact over time.
Absolutely. And for anyone evaluating a property purchase or just trying to understand the market better, knowing these cycles is a game changer.
For sure, it's all about reading the cycle, aligning your strategies appropriately, and using that knowledge to enter the market at the right phase. That is what turns a chaotic scene into a well-oiled machine.
Great insights today. It really challenges the notion of market randomness and shows us that, with the right perspective, property investment is much more of a strategic decision.
Yeah, indeed. It's a reminder that property isn't just about price. It's about the engineered interplay of policy, supply, demand, and timing, all working together beneath the surface.
Well said. Thanks for such an engaging breakdown. It definitely gives us a lot to think about when it comes to navigating the property market.